Ninjago's timeline is sacred. Everything has a cause and effect, and everything has led us to where we are today. It is something that is very vital to the overall continuity, and that kinda goes without saying. But if you do get to adjust one thing, you could definitely look at a completely different outcome. This is known as a what if scenario, something that many franchises have covered and something that I like to do with Ninjago. I've done multiple over the course of time, and I have done a bunch of different scenarios over that time. Honestly, I really enjoy doing these, and it's something that I do often enjoy coming back to. And that is what I have done today. I have taken a look at a point in time to alter and see how that does change things going forth. And that point of time comes from Season 9, or Hunted. What if Garmadon had won the final confrontation? What if he had defeated the ninja and his reign over Ninjago had never come to an end? What if there was no one else to fight against him and he remained within a position of power? What if, like I said, he won? That is going to be what we explore today. We are going to see, in my opinion, what you could interpret as the future of Ninjago with that in mind. See how that alters Ninjago as a whole and go from there. So let me not waste any more of your time and let's take a look at this what if. We find ourselves in the event of Hunted. We find ourselves taking a look as the ninja find themselves returning to Ninjago City with Wu. They're on their dragons and they are feeling invigorated to fight. Little do they know that the rest of the resistance is waiting, being Lloyd, Nia, Dareth and Skylar. All of them reunite as we get to see within the start of the episode. Things are looking up and things are looking good, but the ninjas split off. The original four go off to defeat the Oni Titan when Lloyd and Wu go and find themselves taking on the actual Garmadon threat, and they have a lot of confidence. But it isn't long-lived. As the ninja approach the Oni Titan with their dragons, they go to try and take him down, but to no success. We get to see how the ninja are eventually taken down one by one. The Oni Titan is able to use his mass size to be able to take them down, grabbing and swatting at them like flies, disabling and downing the dragon's wings and actually having them being stuck to the floor. Down there is not much of a chance and he is able to just simply step on top of them. The sheer size and mass just simply was too much to bear, and the ninja are defeated well before any sort of backup returns. As the backup, as we see in Green Destiny, arrive from Cryptarian Prison, we get to see how the Oni Titan just continues to take them down as well. Unfortunately, in this scenario, the Oni Titan was just simply too much, and we never got to see any sort of success on that front. Meanwhile, when Lloyd and Wu approached Garmadon, the fight went on as we got to see. However, again, in similar vein to the Oni Titan, one by one Garmadon was able to dispatch of each individual opponent. In this scenario, Wu, when he was thrown off of the tower, Firstborn never was able to catch him in time, and unfortunately, the Master met his end there and then. Firstborn, in a rage, seeing that the person that she was meant to protect was indeed gone, went up there to try and face against Garmadon, and again was unsuccessful. Garmadon, using his powers of destruction, and also now using the Oni Titan, was able to disarm Firstborn, unfortunately seeing the end of her as well. All that left in this moment was Lloyd. Lloyd, trying to fight against his father, never understands that the fight is what fuels him. With the lack of power and being overpowered by Garmadon, unfortunately, we also see the end of the Green Ninja. He had no son, he had no attachment, he wasn't the Garmadon we knew. There was no compassion behind his eyes, and unfortunately, that meant the end of all of the ninja. This is dark, I know, but the thing is that this is where the story would go, and this is what would have happened if the ninja didn't win that day. So, in the end, the acolytes of Spinjitzu are gone. Garmadon is sat there in his victory, seeing that he defeated the only people that would have got in his way. The resistance, which never quit, were now gone. They fight to the bitter end, and all that was left was Garmadon and the rest of the sons of Garmadon. Garmadon sits back at his throne and declares himself once more the victor. Having no one else to oppose him, he felt pretty good. The Sons of Garmadon were considering the fact that the main person they lost throughout all of this was indeed Harumi. Going to the building of which she was actually fallen through, we actually get to see them try to search for the remains as of the instructions of Garmadon. But here's the thing, in this scenario, after Harumi fell, she still would have been consulted by the Overlord. The Overlord instructing her that he wanted her help in his own return, and Harumi initially promising it because she just didn't have anything else she could do in this moment. But as she woke back up, instead of being greeted alone, she was greeted by her allies. They bring her to Garmadon, showing that she had actually survived, Garmadon being happy as he thought he had lost by all accounts his daughter, but she says the contrary. She informs Garmadon of what she was told. She was told of the Overlord. She was told of the fact that he brought her back and he wanted her help. Garmadon was of course reluctant, not wanting to be associated with the Overlord due to his last encounter with him, so he instructed Harumi to ignore the call. He instructed her to continue by his side instead, and she did actually agree, understanding that this would make the Overlord angry and he would eventually look for a new servant instead, but they decided they would come prepared, and also they realized that there was not that as the only threat that could have remained. Garmadon and Harumi stood above the city of Ninjago, talking about what could be a threat that could remain. Garmadon here informs Harumi that he is the person keeping back the Oni. Harumi is understanding that this realm by all case is safe as long as Garmadon does remain as well. Garmadon states that whilst there may be the odd intrusion of Oni warriors, he can keep them at bay for the most part, stating that that could be a problem if it's not something that they consider. The second thing they consider is the fact that the Overlord may one day have an acolyte return for himself, but again they had no clue who or where that could lie, but again they wanted to be prepared. And the final thing was the fact that the powers of creation were once more free to be called upon by anyone. Garmadon understood that those powers would go to a brand new host, and again that they had to prepare in the event of a new hero coming to be. They pondered, because they understood by this point that the Sons of Garmadon may have not have been enough. So they decided on manufacturing a brand new army. Garmadon, fearing that he would require more power, decides to use his ability to conjure more Oni Titans. Instead of one within Ninjago City, we get to see an Oni Titan within every village, every major monument, one across the entirety of the island of Ninjago. Anywhere you looked, you would see an Oni Titan, all under the control of Garmadon. He was everywhere, he could see everything. There was nowhere to escape Garmadon when he created these Titans. But they wanted something more, and that is where Harumi came with the suggestion. Thinking about the fact that the Acolytes of Spinjitzu's powers may actually go somewhere else, she decided to take up an idea which she would have given to the Overlords, manufacturing an army made of Vengestone. So she goes out on a mission to acquire some, like we get to see in the 11-minute era. She goes to Shintaro and talks to Vangelis about the production of this Vengestone, and with no ninja to counter it, she gets all she needs very quickly. Constructing statues of these new warriors made out of the metal, we see Garmadon use his abilities to bring them to life in similar vein of the Oni. So, just like that, a whole new array of Garmadon soldiers were ready to go at a moment's notice. But with that, we are coming onto a new era in terms of the realm of Ninjago. Instead of the likes of Asphira and the Netherrealm and the Mechanic, we see a time where Garmadon is essentially continuing what he did once before, hunting down anyone that may be conceived as an old ally of the ninja and locking them up within Cryptarium, and locking up any villains that may also oppose him. We would get to see the fact that Garmadon would never have to worry about Asphira or the Scrolls of Forbidden Spinjitzu. We would never have seen the Mechanic actually release an Unagami, as the Mechanic would have been captured by the Sons of Garmadon way before those events. Shintaro would have continued with its operation with the Geckos and the Munts uninterrupted. Vangelis would have benefited a lot from it, and he would never have had his kingdom being toyed with. We would have seen Wojira remain at bay. We would have seen the fact that the keepers of the amulet on the Lightning Island would never have been interrupted. That means that Kalmar would never have discovered where the last amulet truly was, and he would have just continued within Melopia to himself. But lastly, we get to the events of actually crystallized. It is by this point that Garmadon has been the Emperor for a couple of years. He has taken out pockets of Oni that slip through his own barriers of protection, but on an overall there have never been much of an issue. Garmadon by all accounts was able to stop them. Think in similar vein to something like K-pop Demon Hunters. The thing is that Garmadon for all of this time has basically had no real contest. The powers of Spinjitzu and the powers of creation never showed their head. Garmadon can only assume that the people who did own those abilities were simply just unaware of the fact that they did have it. This then, though, like I said, cuts to those events of crystallized, and Garmadon is realizing that the Overlord hasn't been heard from in some time. He consults Harumi, asking if she has heard anything from him either, and she says no. She says that there's been no communication from him, and she still does possess the crystal that was actually in control of her, and the one that she was meant to retrieve back to the Oni temple. Garmadon asks for it and goes there to try and see if he can consult with the Overlord itself. And he is actually successful. When Garmadon does return there, he feels the presence more than ever, and the Overlord is able to communicate with him through the crystal in that location. The Overlord talks about how he can help Garmadon. He can give Garmadon more than he already has. If he comes under his command once again, he will not be disappointed. The Garmadon laughs, talking about how he has everything he could need. His plans failed once more, and he couldn't find his own disciple to help him reenact his evil plan. And even if he did, he would have stopped him there and then. The Overlord pleads, stating that it's something that he needs. The balance does require him, and that is something that Garmadon needs to acknowledge. And without him, the balance will go into chaos even more than it already has. Garmadon declines, stating that it's not his problem by all accounts, and decides to smash the crystal instead of actually placing it in the pedestal that it did require. The Overlord by all accounts had no more communication and was stuck, meaning that crystallize also never happened. But that one more upset of the balance was the last thing that was needed. With all of the chaos, with everything that's happening beyond Ninjago itself, it caused the merge. The merge began in similar vein and in a similar time frame to the actual timeline itself, being pushed forward by all of the energy and all of the darkness within every single realm. The chaos was simply just too much. The realms collapse in on each other in similar vein to what we saw once before, this taking out the likes of the Oni Titans and also the Crystal Army. Garmadon of course survived, and the Sons of Garmadon also, but the thing is that once the realms did all combine together, Garmadon found himself in a new scenario. The land of Ninjago completely covered in this new cloud. Circling around every single aspect of the realm was the Oni clouds. Now, instead of having no way to get into the realm, they did officially have a way, and that giant cloud that covered the other 15 realms was simply way too much. All of it creeping in one way at a time. The clouds completely dominated the land, freezing everyone in its wake, taking over everything that it could see, making its way towards the very center of Ninjago City where Garmadon did reside. Unfortunately, there was just no stopping it. There was no way to stop the Oni in this moment. And just like that, the entirety of the realm was completely shrouded in that cloud. The only one remaining and not frozen in their wake was actually Garmadon. Because of his Oni heritage, he was able to survive it, and that is where we get to see the Omega confront him directly. They fight on top of Borg Tower, in similar vein to how Garmadon and Lloyd did, but in this time, and with no further aid to truly help him, he was actually defeated by the Omega. Garmadon met his end in this very moment, leaving nothing but the Oni. And you may think that's where the story ends. These new lands have all come together and there is nothing but the Oni within them. Darkness had completely taken over and there was not more that could be truly done. There was no one left to stop them. Or was there? Turns out there was one more thing within the way, and just like that, when the Oni thought they had officially won, a light shone through from the skies itself. Coming down were the dragons, arc dragons, even source dragons for that matter, in their own respective avatar bodies. We get to see all of them come down and declare that the Oni had no place to take over the lands like this, declaring that they would stop them themselves as the balance did require so. And just like that, and like eons ago, the second war between the dragon and the Oni carried out. But of course, like any other battle we've seen, and because of the concept of the balance itself, the war between the Oni and the dragon would never truly end. Just now it's got a much bigger battlefield, and they fought for thousands of years to come. And just like that, that is going to mark the end of my interpretation of what would have happened if Garmadon had won, resulting in an Oni takeover and a Source Dragon intervention and a repeat of history like we got to see with the already timeline before. And honestly, I like to see this. It's come full circle, and by all accounts, if that war was to ever end in this story, the cycle would start anew. But I'll let you guys ponder on what could be beyond that point and what could come after that point in time. But as it stands, I'm going to leave it off on the second war of the two original species, because I think it's a poetic end to this video. But I would love to know if you like this story. I would love to know if you like this what if, and what is your own version of the what if. I would love to know your version of these events and how you would change them from mine. But as it stands, I really like this story and I would love to know what you guys think. And honestly, I just really enjoyed doing these. So let me know what the next what if scenario you would like to see. I would love to take some suggestions and see what you guys think, because I just think they're a load of fun. But I'll leave that, guys, down to you, and have fun. But thank you very much for watching the video, and I do hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing. I love discussing Ninjago with more people. And if you do want to support the channel any further, which you do not have to, you could always become a channel member and join the legends that you see on screen. Each of your support means the absolute world to me, and I truly cannot thank you enough. But like I said, that's about it for today, and take care. Okay, bye!